Hello everybody and welcome to Apex Racing TV for week number 11 of the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Qualifier Series here from Lankebanen, also known as Motorsport Hell. We're here with the short layout today, but don't let that fool you. It's actually 80 meters longer than the regular layout that we've been using. We take the joker of the regular layout for this circuit, and then we skip a little bit of the dirt section later on in the circuit as our joker. So it's a shorter joker here. The joker delta is about a second, so it's not too long like we've seen in the last couple of weeks at places like Atlanta and Iowa. My name is Dane Ben. Joining me in the commentary box is Joshua Lee with Mark Trenter up in the production booth. Joshua, welcome. How are you doing? Welcome to Motorsport Hell.
I'm very looking forward to this race because it's such a unique track. I mean, from that turn that the number 2 just took there through the normal joker lane of this track, but you can see long asphalt sections. It's almost like more of a half road course just with some dirt put in the turns, especially that joker lane all through asphalt. One of the only asphalt joker lanes in Rallycross. It's going to be interesting to see how these drivers take to this track and fare in the race along with the heats and the feature.
One of the only purpose-built rallycross circuits, the only purpose-built rallycross circuit actually on iRacing. So it's one that the drivers originally loved, but they've come to hate for a few little gimmicks that it has, including turn number 3. You've got to take a really weird line over the curb to make that one fast, because of the sheer amount of grip that you can get over the curb compared to the gravel. It's definitely not something that we would like to see, but with getting ready, it should be some pretty close racing here. It does lend itself to some close racing, hell, and I'm looking forward to it as qualifying is underway. And we've got some drivers setting a couple of times on the board.
Jake Robertson able to go right up to the top of the board immediately, 40.93. As some more cars make their way across the line. Qualifying, very important in these rallycross cars so they can get up front in the heats, because we've seen week in and week out, you start up in front of the heats and you're able to have a much better time trying to get the win in the heat or the transfer spot than you would if you start out back. With 12 cars in here, it'll be 6 in each heat, so that means we will have 4 in the consolation, the bottom 2 from each of these heats, making their way into that consolation race. So you're taking a look at the 5 of Jake Robertson, making his way through that very slow right-hander through the dirt as more times go in. Vicente Salas going right up to the top, 39.72, with Tommy Makinen with a 39.75. He hops up to P2. Now on board with Jake Robertson and getting up on that curb. Don't want to do that. That scrubs a bit of speed off of the car, and he's going to overshoot the dirt section right into the grass. That is something that Robertson is not going to be trying to do during each of these races. And that is Tommy Makinen also getting a little bit cattywampus on the track there. These drivers having a tough time taming the motorsport hell. That's I'm assuming that's why they call it hell. Very difficult to tame as he goes very wide going into that corner, but that arch in the apex. Very quick turn from Tommy Makinen. We'll see if he can improve on his third place qualifying time.
So for turn number 3, which is coming up to now, this right-hander in the dirt, you want to be taking a very wide entry and get all up over this curb, which is done perfectly there. It's a very fine line between getting it right and getting a massive slowdown. Even you can get a stop-go penalty, and I think he's got a slowdown in that case, and he's going to stop. But when you see them come around the final corner and go all the way out wide there, they're starting the laps, and you can get a much better straight-line speed out of the corner. You can see Danny Matrani here in his Positive Sim Racing Ford Fiesta, and he takes that line pretty well, it seems. And then also into the joker, or the regular joker. I'm going to get confused quite a few times, I think. Turn 1 in this layout, you want to get as wide as possible because the gravel on the outside has a lot more grip than the dirt on the main surface. So you're going to see Danny Matrani, he's just going to go straight on. He's not going to actually set a time or carry on with his lap even. Most of the drivers have finished their laps. Let's make it happen in there. And he's currently sitting on pole position. Not sure if he's going to be able to improve on his time. Let's have a look. Coming around the final corner, up over the little bit of a jump over the line. And it's not quicker. It's about 4/10 off. So not the fastest lap from him. But into that turn number 1 here. Who is this? This is Rasmus Tuominen up over the curb. The joker is there on the left-hand side. and they're going to go around the regular route. The Joker isn't much shorter in distance, but it's all tarmac, and tarmac has a lot more grip than the dirt, obviously, so that's why we've got about a second of a Joker delta over the line, and that puts in enough for second position by just 0.04 of a second. Here's Alex Bergeron, actually a world champion in Dirt Oval Series. Some viewers might recognize that name. A two-time world champion, if I'm not mistaken. I very well might be. And qualifying is over then, so we've got a world champion in the qualifying series, having a bit of fun, make it happen, and currently on pole position there on the 39.4. Rasmus Tuominen in second, Vincente Salas in third, Tommy Mäkinen, Jake Robertson, Garrett Maines, Jonathan Palia. Then we've got Sindre Silva, Alex Bergeron, Danny Majani, Matt Buser, and Tony Latinmaki not setting a time. So he's going to be starting right at the back of the grid. Here's the grid for heat number 1. Then Mika Happinen on pole, Vincente Salas alongside. Then we've got Jake Robertson, Jonathan Palia, and Alex Bergeron in the number 12 car in the 5th position. They're all on the 2nd row. And then Matt Booth is going to line up on his own at the back in his number 8 machine. But Joshua, we've got a very long run down into this dirt turn number 1. I can't really think of any Rallycross circuit that has a dirt turn 1. It's going to be very interesting to see.
They're all going to be hard on those brakes, but it's going to be very difficult to get these cars slowed down, especially in the dirt. But I do want to talk about Alex Bergeron for 1 second. He is very well known in the World of Outlaws Morton Buildings iRacing Late Model Series, the World Championship over on the dirt oval side. So watch him through these dirt sections. He might be at a small advantage.
Absolutely. Well, the lights are on. We're ready to race. And we are green for heat number 1 at Hell. And it's a good start from Vincente Salas up into the leaders. There's a big wreck behind happening. Very sideways. He's going to take the regular racing route 4 wide as they come around through turn number 1 for the first time. A bit of contact, a bit of door banging as they come in towards turn number 2. Very off-camber here, very difficult section of circuit, but Happinen currently leads. He's going to get a massive stop-and-go penalty, so he is out of this race effectively. Bergeron in provisional first position, a little bit of a touch from Vincente Salas, but Bergeron currently your race leader as they come through the dirt section for the first time, and I think he's just taken to the joke. Yes, he has.
Bergeron 5th to 1st. That is what we call an amazing start here in IRX, and he takes the Joker first time by. We'll see how that affects him, because that is the golden question. When do you take the Joker? How much is it going to help you? I believe the Joker Delta is around 0.8 to a full second over the cars behind you. So a very fast Joker lane. We're going to see what the strategy comes in of when these drivers take those Jokers, because only one of them has come down and ranked that 2, Mika Happinen and Alex Bergeron. But Bergeron is your provisional leader so far in this race.
Absolutely. I'm not entirely sure if I was correct. They go side by side, Salas and Palia, and Salas has been turned around in the dirt section. Palia into the grass, and that allows Jake Robertson up into 3rd position, but he's all the way down 3 seconds, or 2 seconds behind Bergeron. So currently Bergeron in the lead of this race. I believe Happinen has a stop-and-go penalty. Yes. Oh! Palia makes it super sideways there, and he's actually rolled the car with the sideways grip he got from the gravel. He's rolled it right back onto its wheels, so he's going to get going again, but that is definitely not what he wants. Currently sitting down in 5th. I think Happinen has a stop-and-go penalty, which you can't actually serve in Rallycross because there's no pit lane. But I think that's what happens. He might have just got a hectic slowdown and is currently actually leading this race. That would be a major glitch in the system, but I think Bergeron is currently in the lead of this race, and Robertson catching up a great deal. And maybe in a lap or 2, he's going to be within Joker distance.
Still, nobody else is taking that Joker. Bergeron and Happinen still need 2 1s. Looks like Jonathan Pylar came down that time by for the Joker lane. Did not gain much from it. He's still sitting in currently P5, provisional P4, if Mika Happinen does in fact have that slowdown. But with 2 laps to go, we're going to see who's going to come down the Joker lane, and Robertson decided on it. He hit the brakes and waited to decide if he was going to take the Joker. Doesn't look like he did, and now he's going to have to take it on this last lap. You have to take that Joker at least once in each one of these races.
I think he got to slow down from turn 3 there. That's why he had to hit onto the brakes, but that's cost him potentially the win of this race. We're going to see when the official results come through, right up on the gravel there, Peter Solberg style line through that Joker, but he's currently sitting over 2.5 seconds, or just under 2.5 seconds behind Alex Bergeron there. Alex currently an absolutely Great start to Rallycross Grid, but he goes wide into turn 3. That's not what he wants. Robertson, I think he's got overcooked that one. And there he is. He slows right down for the slowdown. He's going to come through the Joker lane. You can see just ahead of him. That's Alex ahead of him into the lead once more. And Happen is going to cross the line to win the race. Then Bergeron's going to come to finish second. And I think once everyone follows through, we'll see whether or not Happen won the heat. Oh, and we've got a bit of a problem here with Palya and Salas. I think Palya's trying to let Salas through. Feeling bad for that contact that was made earlier on. And Salas wanted none of it. He was happy with his 6th position. We're going to get the results on the screen then. And it was Happen who won. So I think he just got a slowdown for that. That's a real glitch there. As he wins the heat. Alex Bergeron finishes in 2nd, Jake Robertson in 3rd, Matt Boost in 4th, and Palya and Vincente Salas will head to the consolation, Joshua.
And we heard an upset driver over the voice chat saying that they gave it to Mika and the system is broken. So it looks like a mistake by the iRacing servers, but what are you going to do? That is how they work. But looking at heat number 2, Tuominen going to lead the field down into turn 1, Makinen in 2nd, Garrett Mains in 3rd, Sindra Silva in 4th, Danny Matrani in 5th, and Tony Latamaki rounding out your 6 cars, getting ready for heat number 2. Just waiting on one more to hop on the grid. There they are. And you're going to see those 5 lights come up on the screen as we get ready to go racing. There they are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're racing. Heat 2 is underway. The dive into turn number 1. All dirt turn 1. 6 cars diving in. You can see that Smithfield Ford Fiesta getting a shot to the lead set esports car. That's going to send Tuominen out into a good lead. And it looks like Matrani slow in turn 1, but it looks like getting shuffled down is Tani Latamaki. He's going to head down the order as Main's going to look for the lead over Rasmus Tuominen. Who's going to come down the Joker lap 1? Tuominen's in. Main's no Joker. It looks like Makinen going to take the Joker as well. So 2 Joker lanes on lap 1 as opposed to only 1 on lap 1 last heat.
Danny Matrani got turned around in turn number 1 and Silva got turned around in turn number 3. So those 2 right at the back, they're going to struggle to catch up those 3 seconds to make a move into the transfer positions. Here's Tommy Mackin currently in the final transfer spot. He's one of the drivers who didn't Joker. Latamaki and Tuominen are the 2 drivers who did. Garrett Means currently sitting in 2nd position, a second behind the Joker Delta for Rasmus Tuominen though. As here's Makinen with a pretty good line through turn number 3. It looks like he's going to take the Joker.
Makinen in for the Joker. That is going to help him get it out of the way. He's going to come out in front and barely gets out in front of Tani Latamaki, but they're going to go right around Garrett Mains. Did he get a slowdown there, Dane? He's down into P3, now fighting for it.
Yeah, I think he did, and he goes up the inside, and that's a big error from Tommy Makinen up into the wall. Somehow manages to keep that one going as Garrett Mains back up into P2, but this is gifted to Tuominen the win of the heat currently because he's sitting a good 3.5 seconds ahead after the Joker Delta's been taken into account. But Mains still managing to get back up into 2nd. He's hopped over that curb though. It's really tricky for us to really know if they're going to get slowdowns or not. It's very tricky for the drivers to know as well. There's a sort of inconsistent slowdown there. But we're riding on board with Tommy Makinen now on the back of Garrett Mains. Mains still has the Joker, remember, so he's got a good second ahead of what the gap currently is. But a big mistake from Makinen into that turn number 1 the first time. Mains also making the same mistake into the wall.
And this is just gifting the win to Tuominen, as you said, but Makinen fighting for P2 right now with 2 to go in heat number 2. This is to start further up in the feature. Currently no battle for that transfer spot as Silva just continues to sit around a half a second behind Latamaki, who is keeping up his speed and keeping his distance away. And Garrett Mains still has a Joker remaining, so does Danny Matrani. It doesn't look like neither of them are within the Joker Delta to make a pass going through the Joker lane as we're on the white flag.
Absolutely. Oh, and that's Makinen almost getting turned around from the gravel. It's really easy to do that if you get up on 2 wheels onto that gravel and you get 2 sideways. The gravel can actually turn you right the way around, and that's what just happened with Makinen there. He's lucky to get away with that. You can see them really abusing track limits here to get as much time as possible. And Main's going to take to the Joker now. He's going to gain a second over Tommy Mäkinen. That's going to put him through into second. You can see there Mäkinen in the background, and it's going to be Rasmus Tuominen then who crosses the line to win heat number 2. Garrett Maines will finish in second, Tommy Mäkinen in third, and Tony Lasanmäki in fourth for Sindre Silva of Apex Racing Academy and Danny Mitrani of Positive Sim Racing. They are going into the consolation, unfortunately.
They're going to have to race their way out of the consolation. Even though it's only 4 cars, there's only 2 transfer spots. And this is a very difficult race because you really got to plan out when you're going to take that Joker and how fast you're really going to be during that race. It is 1 lap longer than the heats, but Dane, there's your Heat 2 results.
Absolutely, just confirmation there. Rasmus Tuominen with a dominant performance with the 3 drivers of Maines, Mäkinen and Latanmäki battling throughout. Tuominen just really extended that advantage, and 5.5 seconds was the gap at the end there. We're going to get the grid for the consolation up on the screen then, Joshua.
Jonathan Pyler going to start on pole. Sandra Silva to his outside. Then Vincente Salas and Danny Mitrani round out that last row. Vincente Salas is a little bit still mad over that what happened in that heat getting turned around. We'll see if he can make it up here starting from P3. He just needs to pass 1 car and stay in front of him to get that spot in the feature. I don't believe Salas has missed out on a feature all year so far.
Well, certainly not in the races that he's been in, and the lights are on and we're ready to race.
There they go, racing down into turn number 1. 4 cars. It looks like a little lonely there with the usual 6 that we're used to in the heat. But they're all going to dive down. Actually a little friendly, but just as I say that, 1 car, it looked like that was Vincente Salas. He's going to go on the inside. That was... It looked to be Sindre Silva, but there goes Salas around again! Happening in a different spot than the heat, but Salas gets turned, and I think that was by the same driver as well, as Pyler's gonna come down the Joker lane.
The Frenchman, real-life racing driver, of course, in Rallycross, and he's going to take the lead. Silva turning around Vincente Salas once again, and Mitrani made that big lunge up into turn number 1 that we really weren't expecting there. You can see all the lack of bollards on the outside there. They've been knocked out completely by the drivers in the first couple of heats and now in the consolation as well. Getting high up over the curbs to come around to start lap number 2 of 6 in the consolation to get an extra lap. They still have to take the Joker lane once in this race, and Silva up and over the curb. He's definitely going to get slowed down for that. There's no way he doesn't. How has he not got to slow down for that? Oh, he has.
He is going to get slowed down here. All 4 tires were inside of that curb. You can see him slowing down just slightly there to make sure he can get that slowdown figured out, but he still has a comfortable margin in P2 over Danny Mitrani. So that's not going to hurt him too much, but Pyler going to continue to pull away as Mitrani just trying to get to the back bumper of Silva to have a shot at P2 and a spot in the feature. Doesn't look like he'll be able to, and Salas is getting the bad end of the stick once again. He sits in P4. Honestly, at this point, no chance he's going to make it into the feature.
Interesting line taken by Danny Mitrani there in the Ford Fiesta. Ford Fiesta, the car of choice for a lot of the drivers here. It is the only circuit on iRacing Rallycross that I can think of where the Ford is the fastest car. And that's pretty interesting because it's normally very slightly, the BOP is pretty good in these cars at the moment. It's only very slightly slower at most circuits, but in this one it's very slightly faster. There is Jonathan Pallier there, and he is currently leading this race by a good 1.5 seconds, and that is with the Joker Delta, because they both him and Silva have Jokered, so he is well on his way to qualifying for the feature, and Salas has retired from the race.
Yeah, and I could hear his displeasure over the iRacing voice chat with Pyler, and just getting turned around there when he tried to make that move into turn 3, or turn 2, mind you. But Pyler pulling away. He's having very consistent lap times. I would look for him to be kind of a good spot, be a feature of the feature race, and just try his best to get that win, because he's making very consistent times, and I think if he can make up that track position in the short amount of time we have in the feature, he might have a good chance of winning the feature, and I believe the first time we've seen him here on Apex Racing TV all season.
I think we saw him in the very first broadcast. Very first broadcast back at Sonoma, 10 or 11 weeks ago now. I think that's the only time we've seen him. He's been consistently doing very well in the second split, though. I think he's in that top 14 potentially. But if he can get a good result in the feature, that he's definitely going to qualify now. He's got a good 6.5 second gap with Danny Bergeron in the first non-feature transfer spot. There is Sindre Silva in the Apex Racing Academy car. Anyone can get those Apex Racing Academy liveries if they sign up to the academy. They're pretty nice, if I can say so myself. And Jonathan Pally is going to come around the final corner of the white flag lap, and he is going to win the consolation here at Hell Rallycross Short. Sindre Silva will take the second transfer spot, and Danny Machani is going to finish in third. Unfortunate for him, didn't have the best of races, and then Vicente Salas obviously has already left the session. He's not even here to see himself finishing in fourth position. He's eliminated as well. So the top two through to the feature, Jonathan Paglia and Sindre Silva. And we're going to get the feature grid up on the screen. There it is. Mika Hakkinen somehow winning heat number one. Then he takes pole position for the feature. Rasmus Tuominen will line up next to him with Alex Bergeron next to them. Then in the second row, Garrett Maines, Jake Robertson, and Tommy Mäkinen. Matt Buser, Tony Latamaki, and Jonathan Paglia would make up the third row with Sindre Silva on his own at the back. And almost everyone's on the grid already. No time to wait. Just one driver waiting for, that's Jake Robertson. He's going to pop onto the screen. There he is. The lights are going to come on, and we'll get ready to race here for the feature. And after a long wait, we go green for the feature. The final time, 10 laps ahead of us as they all storm into turn number one. Carnage is going to ensue, I'm sure. Latamaki turned around. Massive contact from all the drivers, 3, 4 wide even, as they come through turn one for the first time. No change for the lead as of yet has happened. And as there goes Tuominen drifting through turn number two. Robertson's turned around, into the wall he goes, and drops back into 8th, into 9th even. Silva has retired from the race, as we currently see Hakkinen take to the Joker from the lead, with Bergeron in second position.
A great start for Mika Hakkinen, pulling away now with the lead, but there's a battle looking for P2. The slowdown from Alex Bergeron in the 12. He lets two cars go by, that's Tuominen and Maines. They're now battling for P2 as they roar back into turn number one. This dirt section, very difficult to get right, all the way on the outside. One car is going over. Who was that? They now fall all the way back the order. That was the number 12 of Alex Bergeron again.
From right at the front to right at the back, he's now battling side by side with Jake Robertson as they come in towards turn number 3, and he spun it around. The world champion in the World of Outlaws series has spun it around, and he has retired from the race. So unfortunate. He was so promising in the heat, winning his heat essentially in second position, and he's so close to taking the lead in the feature, and he's dropped all the way down to last position. Garrett Maines will inherit second then, with happening just behind. Rasmus Tuominen currently leading by 1.5 seconds, and he hasn't taken the joke yet. So what's happened here? Rasmus Tuominen with a massive gap over this Garrett Maines in second. Must have had a bit of a battle between himself and Hakkinen.
He did get slowed down, and there he goes down in the Joker lane. So Tuominen going to get it over with, and this is pretty much going to hand the win to Rasmus Tuominen, as there's Garrett Maines, but the gap is about 2 seconds, and unless he can make that up purely on the racetrack, he's going to have 0 favors unless Tuominen makes a mistake.
I don't think that's going to happen. We haven't seen that happen the entire season so far. Here's a bit of a battle further back down the field. That is Jake Robertson and Jonathan Paglia. And they're going to go side by side, aren't they? Paglia with a little bit of a touch into turn number 3, bit of a punch Jake Robertson all the way out into the gravel on the outside there. And Robertson moved down to 8th with Jonathan up into 7th. Matt Buser in his Beetle. We haven't seen much of him at all so far in this race, and he's up into 6th after a disappointing round last week at Iowa. But Maine still in second with Hakkinen just behind. You can see just how difficult it is to overtake here at Hell.
And overtaking is very important, but especially here at Hell Short, there really isn't that many overtaking opportunities. Maybe into turn 1 you could get it. Maybe right here if you use the bumper. And then turn 3. But other than that, overtaking is very difficult here, especially during this dirt portion, because you need to get those tires just the right amount over the curb. And one tiny mistake and you're getting a slowdown. And that's just going to push you further away from whoever you're trying to race. But Garrett Maines is not making up any ground on Rasmus Tuominen. And Mika Hakkinen is stuck behind Garrett Maines. This top 3 looking pretty solid right now up at the front.
Just behind them is Mäkinen. He's looking on from just a half a second behind. Here is Matt Booster with Jonathan Paglia up the inside into turn number 1. Matt Booster closes the door there and Paglia has to wait. Is he going to use the bumper to go into turn number 2? No, he's not. Booster gives him the inside line there, gifting the position to him, and he's up into 6th position then. As they're side by side, 4-second position happening. Almost up the inside of Garrett Maines through the dirt section, but they're so close, touching as they come around the final corner. Maines with a better exit though, as they come to start lap at number 7.
Tuominen still with just a comfortable lead over this 3-car battle. To the inside, Mika Hakkinen on Tommi Mäkinen. Will he get the pass done? Yes, he will. There goes Hakkinen into P3. He is now on the podium as Mäkinen now is going to have to fight that Purple Black Star Racing Ford Fiesta. Oh, right back to the inside he goes over the curb. Did he get a slowdown? He's run out into the wall.
They made contact on the exit and straight into that big red and white barrier he went. That allowed Latinmäki, Happenen's teammate, up into 4th position there. And he hasn't taken the Joker either, so Happenen has to watch out for his teammate, just 2 seconds behind. With 3 laps left in this race, Garrett Maines has been gifted a bit of an advantage over Happenen now as he went side by side through turn number 3. That's not a place you want to try and overtake. Here is Latinmäki up into 4th position then. As he comes around turn number 3, a bit of a blink on my screen for him, but he comes around turn number 3. Let's see what type of line he takes very early on the curb, straddling that curb all the way around. And up through this tricky dirt section, you've got to brake a lot earlier than you might think. Down the gears into 3rd, and then coming around the final corner now, just ever so slightly losing time to his teammate a couple seconds up the road.
Back into turn 1 for Latinmäki, trying to make up as much time as he can. As his teammate, Mika Hakkinen, is up in front. He caught Garrett Maines. Those two are very close together with 2 laps to go. Can Hakkinen make a pass maybe on Garrett Maines? We'll see what happens between those two. Still looking at the number 6. Makes his way. And now we're hopping back to the battle between Jake Robertson and Tommi Mäkinen. Mäkinen with the mistake going into the wall. And you can see that handbrake being used. Locked tires through turn 3 from Jake Robertson as he tries to battle for P7. As the leader just took the white flag. We only have 1 more lap to go in this race. And the slowdown from Mäkinen, he's going to fall to P8. There goes Robertson right up into 7th.
Absolutely, Garrett Maines with Hakkinen just behind him. He's just got to navigate a couple of more corners until he will take 2nd position. But there is a massive gap between himself and the leader of this race coming round the final corner. And it is going to be Rasmus Tuominen for Set Esports taking the win in week 11 of the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Qualifiers. Garrett Maines will finish in 2nd, Hakkinen in 3rd, Latinmäki in 4th, but Jonathan Paglia in 5th. Matt Booster is going to come across in 6th. Then a bit of a gap between Robertson there and Mäkinen. Silver is a lap down. He managed to get back going. You can see it doing donuts on the infield section is Rasmus Tuominen there, just in the outside of that shot. There it is. He's been joined by either Hakkinen or Latinmäki there as they do some donuts around that roundabout, celebrating the win.
We traded.
Drivers complaining on the radio about this circuit. A lot of drivers not liking this one.
And we traded one Set Esports driver for another. Ollie Kynan won 2 weeks in a row. And now Rasmus Tuominen in victory lane. So Tuominen comes home P1, Garrett Maines P2, Mika Hakkinen in P3, Tony Latinmäki in 4th, 5th, Jonathan Pyler, 6th, Matt Busa, 7th, Jake Robertson, 8th, Tommi Mäkinen, 9th, Sindra Silva, and rounding out your top 10, 8 laps down, unfortunately retired from the race, is Alex Bergeron.
Absolutely really unlucky for the World of Outlaws champion there. What could have been for Alex Bergeron. Then I think we might get a replay here of the start.
There's the replay of that start. Tuominen leading the field into turn 1, and just one car got spun, and I think that was Silva. And that caused a bit of a pileup in the back. And you can see 3 cars going around and 1 car up and over on its side. I think that might have been Alex Bergeron on his side there. No, there's Alex Bergeron on the track. Not sure exactly who was over on his side there. But Rasmus Tuominen grabbing the win. And I believe Dane is standing by for an interview.
Absolutely. Then let's get the race winner up in here for a chat then. And here he is then, Rasmus Tuominen, the winner of the race. Welcome to the commentary box. Congrats on the win.
Thank you, guys.
Talk us through that feature then, because you had a massive gap from pretty much the start after a really interesting turn 2.
Yeah, the turn 2 was quite of a mess, but managed to keep up pace there and not lose too much time. But I was surprised how big of a gap Mika got from the first lap, but he got a slowdown in lap 3 or lap 2, so that helped me quite a bit.
And then the 3 drivers of Mains and Happinen, having a battle behind you, allowed you to get a massive lead by the end of that race. You just had to keep your head down and navigate this tricky circuit.
Yeah, I didn't even watch the relatives that much. I just kept forward and watched the rear mirror when I was left in turn 1. But after all, good race and consistency was pretty on point, and the downturn there, right-hander, it went 10 out of 10 every time. So I was pretty happy about the result after the race.
Absolutely, that's one of the most difficult corners on the circuit. That turn 3, got to get all up on the curb there. What are your thoughts on Hell Short? A lot of drivers are not very happy with it at all.
Yeah, I don't know what the meant for the T1 was, because that is going to be carnage every time the turn 1, because it's the Joker lane, and yeah, that's quite narrow also. But the Joker lap is, I don't even like the Joker. What is the short layouts Joker lap? But yeah, still have to keep mind focused and still train every week and train up to this one also. Yeah, so someone say that this is not the best course, but still the hell course, and yeah, it's still pretty fun to drive, but pretty interesting, I must say.
Yeah, pretty gimmicky circuit. Next week, the series heads back to Sonoma. What are you feeling ahead of next week?
Yeah, so I don't like the Sonoma track a lot. I rather this track than Sonoma, but have to get a good few hours practice there, and yeah, try to score as good points as this week.
Absolutely. Well, congrats for the win. Good luck for the rest of the week, and hopefully we'll see you back here in a week's time.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you to Set Esports and Jon Ollikainen for being the spotter for me all the race.
Well, congrats for the win. Thanks for joining us. Joshua, good to hear from Rassi, and I think you've got Garrett Main tweeting for an interview as well.
The American interviewing the American once again. Garrett, great to see you again. P2 finish, a great finish for you in that Ford Fiesta. Talk about the race from start to finish. You had a little bit of battles there trying to get that P2 spot.
Yeah, I was honestly expecting this track to be, this is not saying much at all, but better than it was more ready to race than it was. I'm sure you saw what happened in the first heat, and that was that right there just kind of killed the mood for me. But overall, I mean, it's a fun track. I think if it was better designed for starts and everything along those lines, it'd be a lot more fun. Maybe some better cut course positions so you don't get stupid penalties. But overall, I mean, the race up front was good. There were some moments on the initial start that were dumb, but me and Mika got into a good battle there. And I knew after the first lap shunt that I got, I was pretty much out of contention. Rasmus was on freaking rails, and I wasn't ready to match his Warren pace, so I wasn't going to wreck myself out of second place to go catch him. I don't think I would have even if I tried. But overall, is much better than I expected. I'm not very good at this course, so for me to slip away with a P2 finish in the feature, I will happily take that.
And you were able to make up track position here. Let's talk about overtaking on this course. We talked about it a little bit in the broadcast where there's sort of limited overtake ability on this course. Did you find it difficult to overtake when you were back in traffic?
Everybody kind of just moved out of my way. On the first lap after I got the shunt, the door opened up for me to get up to, I guess I was P2 on the top, on the outside going into the hairpin, which was going to set me up to be truly P2. Once I got shunted there, I ended up fourth, jokered, came out third or fourth. And then one guy got a slowdown. He moved aside. So that got me third. And then I think Mika got a slowdown a few laps later. That got me second, and they never got back by me. It really came down to, once you got the track position, the only way you are getting it back is shove your nose somewhere it shouldn't be into turn one, which you really had to wreck them for it, which obviously that's not an option. Actually, technically, you could move them in the last corner, but there just wasn't really anywhere to do it unless you're going to get yourself a penalty or get somebody else, out of the race. It was really difficult in practice to make moves. I just kind of got lucky there to get in the right places, be at the right place, right time, and just kind of slip through the gaps when they were available and come home P2.
Next week, we head back to Sonoma and then back to Daytona Oval, or the Daytona Road Rallycross course for week 13, and week 12 is Sonoma. You feel confident in those courses with only 2 weeks to go left in these qualifiers?
From my memory, I remember Jake Robertson being one of the guys to beat along with Yanni. I'm going to see where we can get the car. I know I need another 10th. I really threw away a lot of good finishes there the first time we went. I consistently finished second after stepping on my junk every race. So hopefully we don't continue this streak of doing that, since we did it at Iowa and we did it at Phoenix and probably did it at the two tracks in between. Just hopefully we can continue the forward momentum, getting a good finish here, and hopefully wrap out the season good.
Anyone you'd like to thank before we let you go?
Got to thank Smithfield 101 CBD, Sim Seats, Strickland Hardy, the boys at ESC, and Richmond Raceway for all their support. And let's see what we can do here at the end.
Thank you very much, Garrett Maines, P2 finisher. Zane, that is all the drivers we've got for interviews. What a race today.
Yeah, it was really interesting, actually. A lot of action throughout. Really close racing, but yeah, like Maines was just saying, Garrett was just saying, it's really tricky to make overtakes happen here, especially now that turn number 1 is on dirt. Through the Joker, it's not meant for cars running 2-3 wide through there at the start of the race, so the start's always hectic. But the regular turn 1, you can try and make a move or set yourself up for turn 2, but it's really difficult to do that with the short layout of turn number 1, even though it's 80 meters longer. I'm not too sure how the guys at iRacing decided to name it short, but we'll have to work with it. But really great race. I was pleasantly surprised by the amount of action that we saw. I wasn't expecting much from this place.
I wasn't expecting much either, especially because I've never broadcasted at Hell before, let alone Hell short, or long, I should say, as it is 80 meters longer than the regular course. But it was an exciting race, a lot of great battling, and it looked like these drivers are getting more used to each other as they race week in and week out, and they're able to use that bumper a little more. They're a little bit more confident with their moves. That's going to be exciting to see in the last 2 weeks of the championship and whoever moves on to the iRacing World Championship Series.
Absolutely. It's also good to see a lot of new faces, since we had a couple of drivers like Johnny Olakainen, who we were so used to seeing winning in this series. He wasn't driving, he was spotting. He doesn't like the circuit, he didn't want to drive it. Connor Parisi as well, another driver that's decided he's not going to race this week. So we got to see a couple of new faces, including Alex Bergeron, a complete shock to me to see him in the dirt road side of things. He's got a 4,200 iRating, so he's no stranger to the world of Rallycross and maybe the Pro Trucks as well. But yeah, it's interesting to see a lot of new faces and see how they perform. Guy on screen now, Silva as well. It's Sindre Silva even. It's good to see new guys taking interest in Rallycross. We had 2 splits tonight, but we've had 3 splits throughout these broadcast races, which is the most I've seen in a long time.
I'm looking forward to the remaining 2 races on this schedule because Sonoma and Daytona in iRacing Rallycross are 2 very exciting courses. Whether it's the short or the long layout at Daytona, it's always provided a great race. And Sonoma's layout is so unique, much like Hell Short here. So I'm looking forward to these last 2 weeks of the championship and looking forward to the iRacing Rallycross World Championship once these 14 drivers make their way into that series. It is going to be very exciting for iRacing Rallycross here in 2020.
Absolutely, and with a rumored new layouts coming. I say rumored, they were confirmed in a forum post. Some new layouts. We don't know whether they're coming with the new season build or if they're going to come at a later point, but new Rallycross circuits coming. It's looking good for IRX in the future, and more participation as well. Looking really good for it, which is very good to see. And with the World Championship coming up, I'm really excited to be watching that one. And yeah, that's going to be great viewing on the iRacing Esports Network, which I believe iRacing are going to be producing themselves as well. So that's going to be interesting to see because they've done a pretty good job on the eNASCAR side of things and also the Porsche Esports Super Cup. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do with Rallycross. It's a very different form of motorsport than those 2, but we'll see how it goes, and I'm really looking forward to that. Well, then, I think that pretty much wraps everything up then for week 11 of the IRX World Championship Qualifiers. I've been Dane Baird. Joshua Lee has been alongside me with Mark Tranter, controlling the SDK Gaming overlay that you're seeing on your screen as well as the cameras. From everyone here at Apex Racing TV, we hope to see you next week at Sonoma. We want to wish you a good night and happy racing.